The stars looked different through the viewing glass of the alien ship called Stellar Harmony. Dr. Zephyra pressed her blue-skinned hand against the cold metal wall and watched the small blue planet grow larger on the screen. Her yellow eyes sparkled with excitement as she turned to her team of scientists. "Look at this beautiful world," she said to her assistant Velthera, who stood beside her with forearms crossed. "The readings show life everywhere. Water covers most of the surface, and there are green lands with many different plants and animals." Captain Quindal walked over to join them. His tall, thin body moved with grace, and his silver skin glowed softly in the ship's light. "The energy readings are very interesting," he said in his calm voice. "These beings have learned to use electricity and atomic power. They have built machines that fly through their skies and swim in their oceans." Dr. Zephyra nodded and looked at the data on her screen. "They have cities with millions of individuals living together. They have learned to grow food and build homes. This species shows all the signs of being ready to join our Galactic Union." The Galactic Union was home to 47 different species from across the galaxy. For thousands of years, these species had lived in peace, sharing their knowledge and helping each other grow. Each species brought something special to the Union. Some were great builders, others were amazing doctors, and some could travel between stars faster than anyone else. "Should we make contact?" asked Velthara. Her voice carried the musical tone that all her people used when they spoke. "They seem peaceful from what we can see. Their cities are full of lights, and we can see them working together to build great structures." Captain Quindal studied the readings more carefully. "Yes, but we must be careful. New species sometimes fear what they do not understand. We will follow the old ways of first contact. We will send a simple message and wait for their response." Far below on the blue planet Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his office at the Earth Defense Force headquarters. The morning sun came through his window as he drank his coffee and read reports from around the world. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes, but his face showed the stress of his important job. Lieutenant Amy Carter knocked on his door and entered quickly. Her red hair was pulled back in a neat style, and she carried a tablet computer in her hands. "Sir, you need to see this right away," she said with excitement in her voice. "What is it, Amy?" Jake asked, setting down his coffee cup. "We're getting a signal from space. It's not from any of our satellites or space stations. The signal is coming from outside our solar system, and it's trying to communicate with us." Jake stood up quickly. "Are you sure? Could it be from another country?" Amy shook her head. "No, sir. Dr. Peter Walsh from the language department has been studying it for the past hour. The signal uses mathematical patterns and pictures to try to talk to us. Someone out there knows we exist and wants to make contact." Jake felt his heart beat faster. For years, people on Earth had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now it seemed like they had their answer. "Bring Dr. Walsh to me right away. And Amy, keep this quiet for now. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we tell the world." 20 minutes later, Dr. Peter Walsh entered Jake's office. Peter was a thin man with glasses who spent most of his time studying languages from around the world. Now he faced the biggest language challenge of his life. "Captain Morrison," Peter said, adjusting his glasses nervously. "This is amazing. The signal contains mathematical concepts that any smart species would understand. They're showing us pictures of atoms and stars and numbers. They're trying to build a way for us to talk to each other." "What are they saying?" Jake asked. Peter opened his tablet and showed Jake the screen. "They're introducing themselves. They call themselves the Galactic Union, and they represent many different species from across the galaxy. They say they come in peace and want to share knowledge with us." Jake looked at the strange symbols and pictures on the screen. "What do they want from us?" "They want to meet us. They're asking if we would like to join their community of species. They say they have amazing technology and science that could help us solve problems like disease and hunger." Jake walked to his window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, alien beings were waiting for an answer from Earth. The weight of representing all humanity felt heavy on his shoulders. "Dr. Walsh, I want you to work with Amy to send a response. Tell them we are interested in peaceful contact, but we want to meet slowly and carefully." Amy nodded. "What should we tell them about ourselves?" Jake thought for a moment. Tell them we are humans from the planet Earth. We are a young species still learning about the universe. We want to be friends, but we need time to understand each other. Over the next few hours, messages went back and forth between Earth and the alien ship. Dr. Zephyra was pleased with how polite and smart the humans seemed. Captain Quindell liked their careful approach to making contact. They want to build a meeting place in space between our worlds, Amy reported to Jake. They say it will be neutral ground where both sides can feel safe. Jake agreed to the plan. Neither side knew that this simple meeting would change everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. The meeting place was unlike anything humans had ever built. It floated in the empty space between Earth and the alien ship, looking like a giant crystal flower made of metal and glass. Both sides had worked together to build it in just 3 days, with the aliens providing the design and humans helping with the construction. Admiral Lisa Brooks stepped through the airlock and into the station. She was a strong woman with gray hair who had spent 30 years in the Earth Defense Force. Behind her walked Colonel Ryan Hughes, a tall man with sharp eyes who planned military strategies, and Dr. Kate Phillips, a gentle woman who studied different cultures around the world. "It's beautiful," Dr. Phillips whispered as she looked around the main meeting room. The walls were clear, showing the stars all around them. Soft lights in many colors made everything glow, like a rainbow. "Admiral," Brooks nodded but kept her face serious. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today. We must be careful with every word we say." On the other side of the station, Dr. Zephyra and her team were preparing for the meeting too. She wore special clothes made from materials that shined like water in sunlight. Captain Quindall stood beside her, along with Velthara and a new member of their team called Diplomat Kexara, who had blue skin covered in beautiful patterns. "Are you nervous?" Velthara asked Dr. Zephyra as they walked toward the meeting room. "Excited, not nervous," Dr. Zephyra replied. "This is what we have worked for our whole lives, a new species to welcome into our family of peace." The 2 groups met in the center of the station. The humans and aliens looked at each other with wonder and curiosity. The aliens were amazed by how similar humans looked to some species they knew, but also how different they were. Admiral Brooks stepped forward and spoke first. "We welcome you in the name of all people on Earth. We are honored to meet you and learn about your civilization." Dr. Zephyra smiled, showing her white teeth. "We are happy to meet you, people of Earth. We bring greetings from 47 species across the galaxy who live together in peace and friendship." The first hours of the meeting went very well. The aliens showed the humans amazing technology. They had machines that could heal any sickness in minutes. They showed pictures of worlds where they had changed dead planets into beautiful gardens full of life. They had ships that could travel between stars in days instead of years. "This is incredible," Dr. Phillips said as she watched a video of alien cities that floated in the air above their planets. "Your people have solved problems that we are still struggling with." Captain Quindall was pleased by her reaction. "We believe that knowledge should be shared. When species work together, everyone becomes stronger and happier." Then it was time for the humans to share their achievements. Admiral Brooks began by showing pictures of Earth's cities, talking about how humans had learned to fly and travel to their moon. She showed them art and music that humans had created. Colonel Hughes presented human technology, showing their computers and machines. But when he began to talk about Earth's defense systems and security measures, the aliens looked confused. "Defense systems?" asked Diplomat Kexara, tilting her head to one side. "What do you mean by this?" Colonel Hughes looked surprised by the question. "Well, systems to protect our people and our planet. Every nation on Earth has military forces to keep their citizens safe." The aliens looked at each other with worried expressions. Dr. Zephyra spoke carefully. "We do not understand this word, military. What is this for?" Dr. Phillips tried to explain. "Throughout human history, different groups of people have sometimes disagreed about things like land or resources. Military forces help keep the peace and protect people from those who might want to hurt them." The alien faces showed more confusion and concern. Velthara spoke in a quiet voice. "You mean some humans try to hurt other humans?" On purpose? Admiral Brooks realized they were moving into difficult territory. Yes, but we have learned to control this. We use laws and agreements to solve most problems peacefully. Our military forces are mainly for protection now. Captain Quindahl looked very troubled. In our 47 species, we have never had this problem. When there are disagreements, we change ourselves or our environment to fix the problem. We do not hurt others. The tension in the room grew stronger. Colonel Hughes decided to show what he thought was a simple example. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small knife that he always carried. It was just a basic tool with a metal blade and a handle. This is a simple tool that many humans carry, he said, opening the knife to show the blade. We use it for cutting food, opening packages, and many daily tasks. The reaction from the aliens was immediate and shocking. Dr. Zephyra stepped backward, with fear in her eyes. Velthara made a sound like a scream. Captain Quindahl's silver skin turned pale and Diplomat Kexara covered her face with her hands. What is that terrible thing? Dr. Zephyra asked in a shaking voice. Colonel Hughes looked confused. It's just a knife, a cutting tool. Everyone on Earth has things like this. You carry devices made to cut and harm? Captain Quindahl asked, his voice full of horror. This is a weapon designed to hurt living beings. Admiral Brooks realized the situation was getting bad quickly. Colonel Hughes, put that away immediately. She turned to the aliens. I'm sorry. We didn't know this would upset you. We use tools like this for many peaceful purposes. But the damage was done. The aliens huddled together, speaking in their own languages with voices full of fear and confusion. They had never seen a tool made specifically for cutting, for potential harm. Dr. Phillips tried to calm the situation. Please understand, we are not a violent people. We want peace just like you do. These tools are part of our daily life, but we don't use them to hurt each other. Dr. Zephyra looked at the humans with sad eyes. We must contact our Union Council immediately. We have never encountered a species that creates tools for harming others. We do not know what this means for the galaxy. The meeting ended with both sides confused and worried. The aliens returned to their ship to report this disturbing discovery, while the humans wondered if they had just lost their chance to join the galactic community. Dr. Zephyra stood in the communication room of the Stellar Harmony, her hands shaking as she prepared to contact the Galactic Union Council. The blue lights of the room made her worried face look even more pale than usual. Captain Quindahl and Velthara stood beside her, all three still shocked by what they had seen during the meeting with humans. Council members, Dr. Zephyra began when the communication screen showed the faces of alien leaders from across the galaxy. I must report something that has never happened before in our history. We have found a species that creates tools designed to harm other living beings. The reaction was immediate. Council leader Morthek, a tall being with green skin and large black eyes, leaned forward in his chair. Explain what you mean, Dr. Zephyra. This is a very serious claim. The humans showed us a device they call a knife. It has a sharp metal blade made specifically for cutting. They carry these devices with them every day. When we asked why, they spoke of protection and defense against others who might harm them. Counselor Yeldana, whose people looked like large insects with beautiful wings, made a buzzing sound of distress. You mean they expect harm from their own kind? They prepare to hurt each other before any conflict begins? Captain Quindahl stepped forward. It is worse than that. They have entire organizations they call militaries. These groups train specifically to fight and use weapons against other humans. They said this is normal for their species. The council chamber filled with worried voices speaking in many different languages. Never in the history of the Galactic Union had they encountered a species that prepared for violence as part of their daily life. Council leader Morthek raised his hand for silence. In our 47 species, we have never seen this behavior. When the Velkari need more space, they change their bodies to need less room. When the Quindahl have disagreements, they use their telepathic abilities to understand each other better. When resources become scarce, species work together to find new solutions. "What should we do?" asked Dr. Zephyra. "The humans seem intelligent and capable of great things, but they are also the first species we have met that has developed weapons as part of their culture." Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was causing chaos in government buildings around the world. General Carl Martinez sat in a meeting room in Washington with President Helen Ross and her advisors. The room was full of tension as they discussed what had happened at the space station. "So let me understand this correctly," President Ross said, rubbing her tired eyes. "These aliens have never heard of weapons or military forces? They think we are dangerous because we carry pocket knives?" General Martinez nodded grimly. "That's exactly right, Madam President. Dr. Walsh has been analyzing their communications. Their species apparently evolved without any need for tools that could be used as weapons. They solve conflicts through biological changes or technology, never through force." Dr. Peter Walsh sat at the table with his laptop open, showing translations of alien messages. Their language doesn't even have words for concepts like war, battle, or weapon. When they try to describe what we showed them, they have to use combinations of other words that mean tool for causing harm to living things. "This is incredible," said Secretary of State Linda Moore. "We've been preparing for first contact with aliens for decades, but we never imagined they would be afraid of us." Dr. Alex Turner, the physicist who had been studying alien technology, spoke up. "I've been analyzing their ship designs and technology. Everything they build is designed for creation, healing, or exploration. There are no defensive systems, no armor, no weapons of any kind. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that violence is impossible." President Ross stood up and walked to the window. "And now they think we're some kind of monster species because we have evolved the ability to fight." The situation became more complicated when news of the alien contact began to spread on Earth. Despite government efforts to keep it secret, reporters started asking questions. Soon, television news shows were talking about the alien visitors and their reaction to human weapons. Senator Nick Davis appeared on a popular news program, speaking to millions of viewers. "If these aliens are afraid of something as simple as a pocket knife, what does that say about their ability to defend themselves? What happens if there are hostile species out there in space?" Media personality Grace Thompson agreed with him on another show. "We can't trust beings who have never had to fight for their survival. How do we know they won't try to change us or make us weak like them? Maybe having weapons is what makes humans strong." Fear began to spread among some humans. Online forums, filled with worried people asking if the aliens might try to take away their right to defend themselves. Some groups began demanding that Earth build stronger military forces in case the aliens became hostile. Back on the Stellar Harmony, Dr. Zephyra received a message from the Galactic Union Council. The message was not good news. A group of species, led by the Korthani, had voted to classify humans as a potential threat to galactic peace. The Korthani believed that any species with weapons technology could spread violence throughout the galaxy, Captain Quindal explained to his crew. "They want to place Earth under observation and prevent humans from leaving their solar system until we can determine if they are dangerous." Velthara looked sad. But the humans seemed kind and intelligent. They spoke of using their weapons for protection, not for attacking others. "The Council is afraid," Dr. Zephyra replied. "For thousands of years, our galaxy has known only peace. The idea of a species that prepares for violence is terrifying to many of our people." Dr. Walsh on Earth intercepted part of the alien communications and quickly contacted Admiral Brooks. "They're debating whether to contain us," he warned. "Some of their species want to prevent us from ever leaving Earth." Admiral Brooks felt a deep worry in her stomach. Humanity had dreamed of joining a galactic community, but instead, they might become prisoners on their own world. The simple act of showing a knife had changed everything, and nobody knew how to fix the growing fear and misunderstanding between the species. The galaxy held its breath as two very different civilizations tried to understand each other, with the future of human space exploration hanging in the balance. The Galactic Union Council chamber had never seen such heated debate. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Hall, their voices rising in dozens of different languages. At the center of it all stood Hexmore, the chief representative of the Korthani people. His people were tall and thin with gray skin that looked like stone, and they believed strongly in order and control. "The humans are a danger to everything we have built," Hexmore declared, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. "For 10,000 years, our galaxy has known peace. We cannot allow a weapon species to spread their violence to other worlds." Many species nodded in agreement. The peaceful Yeldana buzzed their wings nervously. The plant-like Silvera swayed their branches in worry. Even some of the wise Telmari, who usually stayed neutral, seemed concerned about the human threat. But Dr. A. Zephyra stood up to speak against the containment plan. "The humans showed kindness and curiosity during our meeting. Yes, they have weapons, but they also spoke of using them for protection, not attack. We should try to understand them better before we make such a big decision." "Understanding can wait," Hexmore replied coldly. "First, we must protect our civilization. I propose we surround the human solar system with monitoring stations. No human ship should be allowed to leave their area of space until we know they are safe." The vote was close, but Hexmore's faction won. The Galactic Union decided to begin immediate containment of humanity, while they studied the situation further. On Earth, the news was causing panic in many places. Senator Nick Davis stood before news cameras outside the government building in D2, Washington, his face red with anger. "These aliens want to make us prisoners on our own planet. They're afraid of us because we know how to defend ourselves. This proves we cannot trust them." Crowds of people gathered in cities around the world. Some carried signs demanding that Earth build bigger armies to fight the aliens. Others wanted peace and understanding. The world seemed to be splitting into two groups, those who feared the aliens and those who still hoped for friendship. Grace Thompson's television show reached millions of viewers each night. "What if the aliens are testing us?" she asked her audience. "What if they want to see if we'll give up our weapons and become defenseless? We must stay strong and ready to fight for our freedom." President Helen Ross tried to calm the situation, but it was becoming harder each day. In her office, she met with her advisors to discuss the growing crisis. "Madam President," General Martinez said, "our satellites have detected alien ships moving toward our solar system. It looks like they're setting up some kind of barrier around us." Dr. Walsh looked up from his computer. "I've been monitoring their communications. The word they keep using translates to something like containment protocol. They're treating us like a dangerous infection that needs to be isolated." The situation got much worse when Captain Steve Collins and his crew, aboard the mining ship New Frontier, had an unexpected encounter. They were working near the asteroid belt, collecting materials for Earth space stations when alien ships suddenly appeared around them. Captain Collins was a tough man who had spent 20 years working in space. When he saw the alien ships, he followed standard human safety procedures. "All crew, this is the captain. We have unknown contacts approaching, raising defensive screens and powering up our protection systems." The New Frontier was not a military ship, but like all human spacecraft, it had basic defensive systems. Energy shields powered up around the ship and automated defense systems came online. To humans, this was normal safety procedure when meeting unknown ships in space. But to the alien patrol ships, it looked like an act of war. The alien captain, a nervous Velkari named Silthon, had never seen defensive systems activate before. To his peaceful species, raising shields looked like preparing to attack. "The human ship is powering weapons," Silthon reported back to his fleet command in panic. "They are showing hostile behavior. Request instructions." Captain Collins tried to communicate with the alien ships. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Steve Collins of the Earth ship New Frontier. We are a peaceful mining operation. We have raised our defensive systems as a safety measure. Please identify yourselves." But the aliens interpreted this differently. The fact that humans had defensive systems at all proved to them that humans were always ready for violence. The alien commander ordered his ships to surround the New Frontier and demanded that the humans shut down all their systems immediately. "We cannot comply," Captain Collins responded. "Shutting down our systems in open space would put my crew in danger. We need our life support and navigation systems to survive. The standoff lasted for 6 tense hours. Both sides were afraid and confused. The humans thought the aliens might attack them. The aliens thought the humans were preparing to attack. Neither side understood what the other was thinking. News of the standoff reached Earth quickly. Admiral Brooks rushed to the communications center to speak directly with Captain Collins. "Steve, this is Lisa Brooks. Do not fire any weapons under any circumstances. We're trying to work this out diplomatically." "Admiral, they have us surrounded." Captain Collins replied, "My crew is scared. These alien ships could destroy us easily if they wanted to." At the same time, Dr. Zephyra was desperately trying to contact both sides from her ship. She knew that one mistake could start a war that nobody wanted. She spoke to Silthon's fleet, trying to explain that human defensive systems were normal for their species. "The humans are not preparing to attack," she told the alien commander. "Their defensive systems are like the shell of a Tergani egg. It is protection, not aggression." But many aliens could not understand this concept. To species that had never needed to defend themselves, any preparation for conflict looked like preparation for attack. The crisis deepened when some human military leaders began demanding action. "We cannot let our people be held hostage by these aliens," General Martinez argued in an emergency meeting. "If they will not let Captain Collins and his crew go free, we may have no choice but to rescue them." President Ross knew that any military action would prove the aliens' worst fears about humanity. But she also could not abandon human citizens in space. The clock was ticking, and both sides were moving closer to a conflict that could destroy any hope of peace between Earth and the galaxy. The emergency alert came just as the standoff in space was reaching its worst point. Deep space monitoring stations across the galaxy detected something that made every species forget about their argument with humans. Long-range sensors showed a massive dark cloud moving between the stars, swallowing everything in its path. Dr. Zephyra was the first to understand what they were seeing. Her face turned pale as she stared at the readings on her screen. "Captain?" "Quindal. Contact the Union Council immediately. The Void Swarm has returned." Captain Quindal felt ice in his blood at those words. Every child in the galaxy knew the stories of the Void Swarm, the ancient enemy that had appeared thousands of years ago. The swarm was not like any normal species. It did not want to communicate or make deals. It only wanted to consume and destroy everything alive. "Are you certain?" Captain Quindal asked, though he could see the truth in the data himself. "The pattern is exactly the same as the old records," Dr. Zephyra replied. "A dark cloud that moves from star to star, eating planets and leaving nothing behind. The swarm has awakened again." Within hours, the news spread throughout the Galactic Union. Species that had been arguing about containing humans suddenly had a much bigger problem. The first reports came from the outer rim worlds. Entire planets went silent as the swarm passed over them. Council leader Morthek called an emergency meeting. Representatives from all 47 species gathered to discuss this terrible threat. The chamber that had been full of angry voices about humans was now filled with fear. "Our defense fleets are moving to intercept the swarm," reported Admiral Kexathani of the Union Navy. "But our preliminary scans show the same problem we had before. Our weapons are designed for building and healing, not for fighting this kind of enemy." Hexmore, who had been so confident about containing humans, now looked worried and confused. "What about our energy fields and terraforming technology? Can we adapt them for defense?" "We tried that against the swarm thousands of years ago," replied Elder Velthek, one of the oldest beings in the council. "The swarm learns from everything we use against it. It adapts faster than we can change our methods." As the reports got worse, Dr. Zephyra made a decision that shocked everyone. She stood up in the council chamber and spoke clearly. "We need to ask the humans for help." The chamber fell silent. Hexmore was the first to respond. "Ask the weapon species for help? They are the problem we were trying to solve." "No," Dr. Zephyra said firmly. "They might be the solution we never knew we needed. Think about it. We have 47 species with amazing technology, but none of us know how to fight. The humans are the only species we have ever met that understands conflict and defense. Elder Veltek nodded slowly. The young scientist speaks wisdom. Our ancestors barely survived the last swarm attack by hiding and running. Perhaps it is time to try a different approach. The council voted quickly. Time was running out as the swarm moved closer to inhabited worlds. Dr. Zephyra was given permission to contact Earth and ask for help, despite the ongoing containment of humanity. On Earth, Admiral Brooks received the alien message in her command center. Dr. Walsh translated it quickly, his eyes growing wide as he read. "Admiral, they're asking for our help," Dr. Walsh said with amazement. "There's some kind of ancient enemy attacking their worlds, and they don't know how to fight it." Admiral Brooks immediately contacted President Ross and her advisors. The irony was not lost on anyone. The aliens who wanted to contain humanity because of their weapons now needed those same weapons to survive. "This could be our chance to prove we're not the monsters they think we are," General Martinez said. "If we help them fight this swarm, they'll see that human weapons can be used to protect, not just to destroy." President Ross agreed. "Send word to Dr. Zephyra. Tell her we will help in any way we can." The response was immediate. Captain Collins and his crew were released from the alien patrol ships. More importantly, human military strategists began working with alien scientists to understand the swarm threat. Major Dan Foster, a tactical expert, worked closely with Dr. Zephyra to analyze the swarm's behavior. "This enemy is like nothing we've faced on Earth," he admitted. "But the principles of defense and coordinated attack should still work." Dr. Julia Mason, a weapons specialist, helped alien engineers understand how to modify their peaceful technology for combat. "Your terraforming equipment can be changed to create barriers," she explained to a group of amazed alien scientists. "Your medical technology that heals damaged tissue can be reversed to damage the swarm's biology." The real breakthrough came when humans taught the concept of strategic thinking to the alien species. Admiral Brooks worked with Union Admiral Kexithani to plan coordinated attacks using ships from multiple species. "The key is not to fight the swarm directly," Admiral Brooks explained. "We use teamwork and strategy. Each species contributes what they do best, but in a coordinated way that the swarm cannot predict or adapt to quickly." The final battle took place near the Centauri system, where the swarm was moving toward several heavily populated worlds. Human ships worked alongside alien vessels in the galaxy's first combined military fleet. The Velkari used their terraforming technology to create energy barriers that trapped parts of the swarm. The Quindal used their medical knowledge to create biological weapons that could damage the swarm's living components. The Yeldana used their flying skills to coordinate complex attack patterns that confused the enemy. But it was human strategic thinking that held it all together. Colonel Hughes coordinated the battle from the command ship, using principles of military tactics that the peaceful species had never imagined. "All ships, this is Colonel Hughes. Execute pattern Delta 7. Velkari barriers on my mark. Quindal bioweapons 30 seconds after. Yeldana attack squadrons follow immediately." The combined attack worked. For the first time in galactic history, the Void Swarm was not just stopped but completely destroyed. The threat that had terrified civilizations for thousands of years was finally ended. In the aftermath, the galaxy saw humans in a completely different way. Council leader Morthek spoke for many when he addressed the Union Council after the victory. "We were wrong about the humans. They do not carry weapons because they love violence. They carry weapons because they understand that sometimes violence comes to you whether you want it or not. Their ability to fight is not a weakness in their character. It is a strength that saved us all." Dr. Zephyra and Admiral Brooks worked together to establish the first Human Union Defense Academy, where species from across the galaxy could learn strategic thinking and defensive tactics. The weapon species became the galaxy's teachers and protectors. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, shook hands with Dr. Zephyra as they watched the first class of alien students learning about military tactics from human instructors. "Who would have thought," Admiral Morrison said with a smile, "that our ability to make weapons would be what brought peace to the galaxy?" Dr. Zephyra smiled back. "Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the things that make us different are exactly what make us valuable to each other.